All right, did Michigan football, the Wolverines, just back into a monster? Not in the way you want it to happen. Not in the way you want it to happen. Things are starting to get a little thin across the offensive line, but I think we may have moved into somebody that's even better. I just was hoping it didn't have to be at left tackle. So anyways, let's go ahead. Let's talk about that. If we have time at the back end of this, I want to talk about some of the conversations that happened throughout the week that got this defense playing so much better. This Washington offense is not a bad offense. This quarterback is not a bad quarterback at Washington, and this Michigan football team made them look like a bad offense. They are not. They have one of the best receivers in the country. They have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And Fish, playing as a play caller, is a good play caller, one of the tops in the country as well. And we made them look bad, and it was fantastic. But before we get into that, I want to get onto the offensive side of the ball. We saw the injury. I don't know what it is yet at this point. And you know what? With Michigan, they don't have to reveal it. And, Sharon Moore has talked in the past. It's Evan Link. We know that. Our left tackle went down with an apparent ankle, foot. Who knows? I mean, it could be ankle, could be Achilles. It could be a lot of different things. But I don't know if he's going to be back anytime soon. And in came Blake Frazier. He took over at left tackle and didn't just play admirably, played better and played extremely well. And it's just another case of a guy, his second year with the program as a redshirt freshman, was ready to take on the opportunity. Just another young guy. And it is players like this that give me continued encouragement that I believe this coaching staff is doing things the right way. They're recruiting at an extremely high level, and they're getting players ready to play quickly. That doesn't happen unless you have good coaching. That doesn't happen unless you have guys that are putting players in position where they can succeed. So Evan Link goes out. If you remember in a video last week, I was talking about how we need to get Blake Frazier. I don't care how we get him on the field. We need to get him on the field. My thought process was right tackle. All right, if I can be honest, because Sprague really struggled against USC. He played much better in this game. But I wanted to talk about it. But I want you to hear first what Frazier had to say talking about getting this opportunity. He said, how it happened on Saturday is never how you want it to happen. Absolutely, well said. But at the end of the day, football is a dangerous game. We all sign up for it when we sign up to play. So my mindset's been get ready to play every week, and that just happened to be against Washington. So I feel like I took care of business, did my job, but obviously not how I wanted it to happen. No, he absolutely did his job. If you look at PFF grades for the Michigan Wolverines on offense, our highest graded players are Justice Hayes, Jordan Marshall, and Bryce Underwood, followed by Andrew Marsh. All right, then there's a little dip after that. All right, that's kind of the first shelf. And then really it's Hayes and Marshall, then Underwood, Marsh are the next two, and then after that there's a little shelf. And Blake Frazier's kind of in that grouping of players right here. But when you look at Blake Frazier, and this is the thing that's crazy to think about, he is our highest graded offensive lineman. Jake Guarnara is our second highest graded offensive lineman. All right, Frazier has 106 snaps. Jake has 317. The next highest after that has a significant amount of snaps is Andrew Sprague. Then you have to go all the way down here to get to El Hadi and Crippen. And then down here is Afobe. All right, so these two guys, Frazier and Guarnara, and this is one thing that I do struggle with at times, and I understand it's kids, and I understand they're young, and if it's close, you're going to go with that. And I also understand, I've heard this a lot. I feel like I've heard this more from Michigan this year than any year past. I've heard this idea of, hey, the best players are going to play, but I've also heard, I've always heard that. What I've heard is we need this guy to start doing what he's doing in practice in the game, right? We've heard it all over the place. We've heard it with Goodwin when he was dropping passes, saying he's not dropping them in practice. We've heard it with the punter, saying like, hey, this isn't what he's doing in practice. Like he's booming the ball in practice. And so we hear about these things and it's just like, okay, that's unique. But there are multiple occasions on the offense this year, whether it's Jake Guarnara coming in for an injured player and playing better, whether it's Blake Frazier coming in for an injured player and playing better. Right? Evan Link was a 60.8 on PFF. Not terrible, but not nearly as good as what Frazier's putting out there. All right? And I like Evan Link. And I hope he comes back, and I think he can be a good player for us. 2 players on the offensive line. You also have Andrew Marsh, who I understand he was a freshman, so like you needed to ease him in. Like he's so good. Like how do we not see that? I think that's the only question. Like, how do we not give opportunity to these guys off the bat? That's my only hiccup and my only concern. But the fact is they're ready to go. And he played very, very well in this game. When you look at him specifically in this game, his pass blocking grade was fantastic. This is him game by game, and most of them are just very limited snaps. But his pass blocking grade was a 72. And that is, I mean, like everything you could want from the blind side. And this guy, again, is a redshirt freshman. And that just speaks to the depth that Sharon Moore and Harbaugh before him. I can absolutely say that. But this is mostly Sharon Moore because these are young guys and transfer portal guys, NIL guys. And like I look at this and it just speaks to the depth. We were hearing out of camp that Sprague was set on the right side, like he was entrenched. Crippen was entrenched. El Hadi was entrenched. Those were the 3 players that were always going to start. But we heard Andrew Babalola, the freshman, was probably going to start at left tackle. And he was probably going to get the nod over Link. And then he probably, I don't know, he hurt his knee. It's probably an ACL, right? So it could be an MCL, but we don't know. I don't even know why I'd speculate on that. We just know he hurt his knee and he's out for the year. So then Evan Link comes in. And then Link gets hurt. And here comes Blake Frazier playing at a higher level. Like, that's extreme depth. When Norton got hurt and Guarnara came in, he played at a higher level. When El Hadi got hurt and Ifobi had to come in, he played at a significant, how do I want to put it? It wasn't a big drop-off. It was barely a drop-off. And so now you're sitting here when you're talking about Babalola, you're talking about Guarnara, you're talking about Ifobi, and you're talking about Frazier. That's 4 guys. 4. I'll do it like this. This is a weird way to hold up 4, right? But like 4 guys. That is 9 deep. And Sharon Moore at the beginning of this year talked about how this offensive line, he said, hey, I like our top 5, but our 9 to 10 deep is way better than it was a year ago. He wasn't lying. That's the kind of things that I like. All right. I like honest assessment, and it has proven to be real. And I think we may now have our best version of our offensive line, even though we had to find it through a couple of injuries. My hope is that this team can continue to connect on the offensive line and go from there. Okay. I said I was going to talk a little bit about defense. I'm going to save that for a video down the road. If you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Continue to watch this for Michigan updates and content every single day. If you're a Lions guy, go over and check out our Detroit Lions channel over at Sports Talk Detroit, and we'll see you on the next one.